Привет, друзья! Сегодня у нас классное интервью, которое вы услышите, которое я провожу с моими новыми друзьями в Измире. И, конечно, вы узнаете, как жить в Турции, какие места посетить. Именно местные жители знают это лучше всего. Поэтому оставайтесь с нами, и вы все это услышите. Сегодня у нас интервью, и я хотел бы представить наших гостей, но наше интервью будет на английском языке. Поэтому, пожалуйста, включайте автоматические субтитры внизу под видео, чтобы понимать нас, если вдруг ваш английский еще пока недостаточно хорош. Но, тем не менее, будет очень полезная информация, которая вам пригодится, если вы поедете в Турцию. Okay, so let's start our interview. So it's my honor to have you today. Thank you for accepting my proposal to have our interview. So Gюnеш and team. So it was a unique opportunity to meet Gюnеш on the plane when I was going from Istanbul to Izmir, and I'm so happy because I got invitation. I got invited to your house, and thank you very much for that. And I think for my followers, it would be nice to know how is the life going in Turkey, especially in Kушadасы. It's not so far from Izmir, and especially because you are Turkish and you are English. Yeah. So, Tim, could you tell a little bit your story, how everything started?
Sure, it's a pleasure. I guess for me, the story started 8 years ago when I was visiting Istanbul on a business trip with some colleagues from London, and by accident I met Güneş, and we kind of hooked up. We didn't hook up permanently immediately. It took us almost a year and a half to eventually get together. So that was in 2013, and then I eventually, after many efforts to make arrangements, I eventually moved to Turkey in late 2014, and I guess the rest is history, really. We've been together ever since. When I first moved to Turkey, we lived in the center of Turkey, central region in Cappadocia, which is like a mountainous area. It's very cold in the winter, and we have 3 or 4 months of very cold weather and snow there, which didn't suit me very well. Güneş had lived there for several years, and she'd become very acclimatized to it, but it didn't suit me very well. So a few years later, I finally persuaded her to move to this side, and we're now on the Aegean coast of Turkey, and the weather is much more friendly for somebody like me.
That's true.
Okay, great. So I think, Tim, your first impressions can be very useful for everybody who is watching us right now, because you are English who moved to Turkey. So what were your first impressions? Good and bad ones, maybe. So what you liked, especially in Turkey, and maybe some things that maybe shocked you a little bit or surprised you at the beginning.
Yeah. I think perhaps to put this into context, it's perhaps important to say that I've lived in a number of countries. Turkey is not the first overseas destination that I've lived in. I've lived in the Middle East, I've lived in France, I spent quite a lot of time in the USA as well. So I have quite a lot of experience of different cultures, and I'm not so easily shocked when I see something that's different to what I find normal. But Turkey certainly has some peculiarities. For example, I think perhaps one of the things that never ceases to shock me is the way they drive here is just crazy, you know. I personally feel that I'm taking my life in my hands every time I go out on the road. But having said that, you know, you learn to adapt to everything, and with time you learn to anticipate that Turkish drivers are less predictable than I as a Westerner would expect.
It's not just driving a car. I mean, Tim and I own a motorbike, and in the motorbike on the way in Turkey is just not a vehicle, you know. They just behave like you are not there, or they can pass you easily. They just do every crazy thing. Even yesterday we were we went to shopping, and there was a guy saying to us, just move, okay? And it was zebra crossing, and we just said, okay, you can't park here, and here this is the vehicle we parked. So what's wrong with you, you know? So, but it's always
very, very great disrespect
Yeah.
for motorcyclists,
Okay.
almost as if you don't exist, you
Yeah,
know. So
yeah.
it's a bit. It can be a bit scary, but as with all things in a culture that's different to your own, you need to learn to adapt to it. And I guess you need to learn to be defensive in areas where. Not that I'm suggesting Turkey is generally a dangerous country, because it's not.
No.
It's a very peaceful country, very friendly, but the road traffic can be a bit threatening
Yeah,
if you're not experienced in that area.
Great. Anything else that comes into your mind about first good and maybe not so good impressions?
Yeah, I mean, Turkish people are very friendly, and because tourism is a big part of Turkish economy, most Turkish people, whether they work in tourism or not, have become very accustomed to expecting foreigners into their country. I'm not saying every Turkish person speaks many foreign languages. English is reasonably well spoken on this side of Turkey,
Yes.
not so much on the east side of Turkey. And I guess other languages tend to be dependent on whether they have a lot of visitors.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we know already that a lot of Russian visitors go to Antalya,
Yes.
so you probably find a lot of Turks that speak Russian there.
I mean, in Cappadocia, for example, there are many. They have many Japanese visitors, so you can find many Japanese speaker in there.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, but generally, whether they speak your language or not, they will always generally try and make the effort to help you and to welcome you, you know?
Okay, great. And of course, I think it could be useful too for my followers to know what to do and what not to do in Turkey as a tourist. Because sometimes in different countries I see how tourists behave maybe not so well, I think, so in my terms. So what could you recommend from your perspective? What Russian tourists or in general tourists, foreign tourists should do and not to do in Turkey to have wonderful holiday and not to have misunderstandings with locals and just enjoy the time to the fullest?
I mean, I have some thoughts about it. They shouldn't use drug because drugs are illegal in Turkey. Now we are in Ramadan, and I think as a Muslim country we are not so strict as other Mediterranean, Middle East countries. But at the same time, we should. I mean, the tourists should be respected. I mean, they can eat anywhere, but it is better not them to have a bottle of beer and walk in the street. You know, it will be uncomfortable for them and disrespectful if they visit. Anyone, any Turkish people's house, they should take their shoes. Isn't that right?
Yes. Yes, Turkish house owners have an obsession with removing shoes before you enter the house.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is generally nice if you are the first-time visitors and take some. I mean, gifts doesn't have to be expensive or anything. Just to show how grateful you are.
Respect.
Okay. Respect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you tell me.
yeah, and I think also that's an interesting point. As a British person, we tend to be quite cold. So it's unusual that you'll find, at least in my experience, a British person that will invite you into their house without getting to know you as a friend first. But in Turkey, that's not unusual. You could quite easily meet somebody and they will invite you into their house the same day.
Like in our case, Güneş invited me to visit you, and it was so pleasure for me now to be here to spend some time with you together.
Yeah, I mean, another thing, I think foreigners are not very touchy. I don't know, some foreigners or not, but my experience, British, Russians, Japanese are not very touchy, but Turks are likes to touch, do these things, you know, all those kind of, you can immediately say, yes, bro, let's do it, you know.
Okay.
So don't be shocked. This is our personality. We like to touch people, but if you make it so clear you don't like these things, probably the other side is understand. But I mean, this is this is our way to communicate. This is our part of communication.
Show your love, respect.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I remember when I visited Tim's family in England, I was all the time hugging his father and kissing him, and he was just like, oh my God, what's wrong with her? And you can see from his face, as soon as I hug him, he just like, okay, just go far away a bit. It's too much, It's only 1 hour. Why is she coming and hugging me? Wasn't he like that?
Yeah, but that underlines again this British little bit of distance,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, different cultures and cross-culture communications.
Yes.
Now we're talking,
Yeah.
British person, Turkish person, Russian person, and we are together.
Yeah, that's
it's wonderful. Okay, maybe any funny stories? Okay, Tim, maybe from you most. So with Turkish people here.
Yeah, I have a funny story from the very first time when I came to Istanbul on the business trip that I mentioned. I was with a group of British business colleagues that were visiting for a business meeting. And while we were here, the person who had organised the meeting in Turkey arranged a tour of Istanbul, a walking tour of Istanbul. And we were all walking as a group in the street. And in front of us, there was a sort of teenage boy who was a shoeshine boy. And he was crossing the road in front of us, and we were walking as a group behind. And as he walked across the road, he accidentally dropped the brush that he uses for brushing the shoes. And he didn't notice that he dropped the brush. So we immediately saw that he's dropped his brush. And one of us ran forward and picked the brush up and took it to him and gave it back to him. And he was very grateful, visibly grateful that we'd taken the trouble to give him back his brush. So he said, please take a seat and let me clean your shoes, And we were kind of in the middle of a tour, so we weren't super enthusiastic. And I also think none of us had the right shoes that really needed shining anyway. But, he was so insistent, and he said, this is my gift. This is for me to thank you for picking up the brush for me and returning the tools of my trade, So, you feel obliged that you want to honour his gesture. So one of us sat down for the shoe shine and got the nice shoe shine. And at the end of it, he said, 18 lira, please. And we were all shocked because this was supposed to be his gift to us,
For free, yeah?
For free, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't honestly remember exactly how things played out. Maybe we gave him a small tip or something. But it was a big shock to us that this gift for returning his brush had a price associated with it. And we all thought it was a little strange, but we kind of forgot it. And a few weeks or months later, I was reading an English language newspaper published in Turkey, and I read an article about the Istanbul shoe shine scam. And apparently this is a very common tactic, that they deliberately drop the brush in front of a group of tourists, knowing that a Western tourist will typically take pity and say, I must run and pick the brush up, and then they get suckered into paying for a shoe shine that they never would have chosen to buy in the first place,
Like a small trick, to get clients, to get some money.
Yeah.
Like, it can happen everywhere, right?
Oh, of course. This is not peculiar. I'm sure every country has its own different flavours of tricks for getting tourists to spend their money. And this was quite an amusing one. It's not one that you would say ruined my trip or anything like that, but it's still nice to understand that there is creativity in the way Turkish people interact with tourists. Sometimes not always in your favour,
Yeah, sometimes you see on the door, no hassle, okay? And you say, okay, no hassle means no hassle. But as soon as you step into the shop, you see people are just hassling too much. So, I mean, everybody is trying to sell something. So you have to be...
Prepared.
Prepared. Yeah.
But that's true as a traveller anywhere, isn't it? You need to have your wits about you.
It's totally true.
Yeah.
Any other peculiarities of Turkish culture? Any characteristics we should know and pay attention to? Visiting Turkey, spending holiday here?
What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe you've got some thoughts on how people explain things or how they communicate.
Or say no in Turkish culture.
Yeah, that's right. For example, it is so difficult for Turkish people to say no. I mean,
to refuse something.
To refuse something. For example, sometimes you ask, would you like to come with me? And they couldn't say directly, no, I don't want. They say, yeah, I would like to come. It's always, mostly excuses, because it's really hard to say no. Because, go on, you tell.
No, I mean, I agree, that is true. And as a foreigner, that can sometimes be difficult, because you can't always be sure that you can rely on somebody.
Yeah.
Because people will say that they're going to do something when in fact they have no intention of doing it, but they simply find it difficult to be straight with you.
Yeah. I mean, for example, if you are Turkish or foreigner, it doesn't matter. If you have a broken tap or anything and you call the master, they will say they're coming, and you know they won't come for a long time. You have to call 10 times, you know.
Okay.
And they say I'm on my way, and you wait 3 days and they still on their way. They're coming from the other side of Turkey. So you have to accept these things. I'm not saying we are unreliable, because generally we are, but I mean, we don't know. We aren't really on.
There's a less precise sense of timing and meeting commitments in Turkey.
Yeah. Okay. And another problem, I think, if you are lined and waiting for a queue, there is always someone trying to be.
I heard an interesting way of describing that. Somebody said to me that whereas for most countries a queue is like 100 people standing in a line, in Turkey it's 3 lines deep and 33 people wide. You know.
Yeah. Sometimes you see people there putting their bags and say, "I'm sitting over there, but my bag is on the queue." You know. So, I mean, but we are generally honest in the
big things.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you are having a big trading.
Yeah, like a business operation.
Yes.
Generally, Turkish business people will take it seriously.
Yes.
But on the small details, they will possibly disappoint you sometimes.
Okay.
They have to negotiate, of course. Negotiation is our culture, you know. And you have to have that negotiation. And I mean, when I say negotiation, for example, if you go to the supermarkets and if it's labeled as a price, it's not negotiable. But if you are going to small shop or carpet shop or
to the market,
I mean, there is always a chance to negotiate,
and particularly with products that are specifically aimed at tourists.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the products that are there in the shop for locals are generally priced at the real price.
Okay.
But something priced for a tourist will be very artificially higher. And you absolutely must negotiate in order to pay the right price for that.
And I think Turkish people like negotiating too.
Yes, definitely.
It's a mutual process.
Yes.
Of talking. Who will win a little bit more? Who will win less?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, whenever Tim and I go somewhere, I always say, please, you are not speaking, okay? Because as soon as he says merhaba, they say, okay, ting ting, hello.
Tourist, a lot of money is waiting for us.
And it's always I say, please wait outside. I'm coming. You know?
Okay. It's always to have a local friend and maybe to go together sometimes. It helps.
Yes,
in
definitely.
some cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. And of course, I would like to ask you about some beautiful places to visit here in this region. Izmir region, Kuşadası, because I think people will not visit only Istanbul or Antalya. Maybe we can attract the attention of my followers on YouTube to visit other regions of Turkey, like Izmir, Kuşadası. So what tips would you give to these people? What to visit here?
I mean, I know I'm a Turkish person, but you can explain it this destination better than me. Could you please say, we are in Kuşadası. There's a big port in Kuşadası.
A seaport that receives cruise ships when the cruise ships are travelling, which is of course not at the moment. But we have probably 10 cruise ships a week docking in Kuşadası, coming from Greece or from other parts of the Mediterranean.
Definitely.
And each time a cruise ship arrives, they stay for like half a day or a day.
Yeah.
And like several hundred people will disembark the ship and will come and visit the attractions that are local to us. The most famous one being Ephesus, which is about 15 kilometers from Kuşadası.
Or they can fly to Izmir, and if they're not having a tour, I mean with the tour guide and everything, they can also come easily to Selçuk by train, by dolmuş, by buses. So there are many options if they want to come. And it's not just Selçuk. There is Didim, Prene. It's a bit far away. Let's say I can say 35 kilometers, but they can still do if they want to come and stay in Kuşadası. I mean, for example,
the transport connections are very good all around. You find public transport and also private transport operators that run services from A to B. So it's very easy to get around.
Yeah. I mean, for example, in Selçuk, Ephesus is closer to Selçuk, but
to visit Ephesus, for example.
But Kuşadası is better for hotels, because it's not just having hotels, it's also sea. So if they have 3 days or 4 days, for example, they can visit the place around Kuşadası and stay 2 more nights in the hotel and swim, So 2 things together.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. Great. And maybe my last question, because I don't want to have a long video. Nobody likes long videos on YouTube. So maybe your final message, your final useful tips for tourists from Russia or from other countries before planning or coming to Turkey. So useful tips or maybe final message.
Can I?
You go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, Turkey is a safe country. There was a time pickpocketing.
Pickpockets,
Pockets in Istanbul, but you don't get anything around here at all. Don't drink and drive. That's really a horrible thing. Don't use drugs, because drugs are illegal, and if the police notice that, you're in big trouble. Don't get fight with the Turkish people, because
they're really good fighters.
No, they're not. But don't forget, you're foreigners. But Turkish police are so good with the foreigners. But if they have to be in their sides, they can be in the Turkish side. Okay, so be careful. Take your shoes when you're entering the house, not the hotels, but if you're visiting anyone's house, go and
have a nice time.
Yeah, and have a nice time. Okay, we have great foods in here, and döner kebab's ours. It's not German. Baklavas, mezes, rakı. These are the great things to have in Turkey, and wines. Not as good as French, but still good.
Okay. Tim, anything to add?
Well, she's taken all my words.
No, I didn't.
I don't have anything to add. But
Okay, I think we can finish.
Yeah.
So, and of course, thank you very much
You're
for accepting
welcome.
me.
You're welcome.
So happy to have such friends like you.
Thank you.
Because it's always not fun. It's always useful and interesting and new experience to make friends, local friends,
That's right.
to see how people live in different countries, how the different cultures connect with each other, like in your case. So it's so wonderful. And I think your tips, of course, are very good to think before planning or going to Turkey.
Yeah.
That's why Friends, if you are watching us and you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that. Yes, if you want to know more about Turkey, about life in Turkey, about beautiful places in Turkey, because tomorrow I'm going to Antalya and then Alanya. I have a lot of things to tell you, and of course, don't forget, with me you can learn different languages. So now I have 4 online courses on my YouTube channel: English, German, Spanish, and English, German, Spanish, and French. For Russian speakers. Now, unfortunately, but it's my idea to have a second channel, maybe in English. That's why, to make it more affordable for everybody. So if you are into languages and traveling, especially now about Turkey, please stay with us and see you soon. And thank you one more time. See you next time.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.